In a quaint little house at the end of a quiet suburban street lived a little boy named Tommy. He was an ordinary, cheerful child, always full of energy and excitement. That was until the voice from under his bed started to haunt him. It all began one gloomy night when a storm raged outside. The winds howled and rain pelted against the window pane. Tommy lay in his cozy bed, covers pulled up to his chin. He should have been safe and sound, but a whisper, soft and eerie, drifted up from beneath. "Tommy," it murmured, sending shivers down his spine. "I'll visit you tomorrow." Tommy jolted upright, his wide eyes scanning the dim room, but there was nothing there, just the faint glow of his nightlight casting eerie shadows on the walls. "Who was there?" he stammered, his voice quivering. Silence. The voice had disappeared, leaving him trembling and frightened. Tommy's heart raced, and he could hardly fall back asleep that night. The next day, as the sun's warm rays penetrated his room, Tommy pushed the eerie voice from his mind. Perhaps it had been a dream, he thought, but as the day wore on, the fear that had taken root in his heart grew stronger. And then, in the midst of playing with his toys, the voice returned. "Tommy," it whispered, chilling the air around him, "I'll visit you tonight." The boy's small hands trembled as he clutched his favorite stuffed bear. He glanced around the room, but there was no one there. He couldn't understand where the voice was coming from, but he knew it was real. That evening, Tommy mustered the courage to tell his parents about the strange voice. He recounted the terrifying encounters from the previous night and day, but his parents, trying to soothe their son's fears, brushed it off as an overactive imagination. "Tommy, it's just a bad dream," his father reassured him, tucking him into bed that night. "You'll be safe." But as darkness cloaked the room and the storm outside raged on, the voice returned, even more menacing than before. "Tommy," it hissed, filling the room with dread, "I'll visit you now." This time, Tommy's heart pounded so loudly that he was sure it would awaken the whole house. He couldn't take it any longer. Terrified and desperate for help, he dashed into his parents' room, sobbing and trembling. "There's something under my bed," he cried. His parents, groggy from sleep, checked under the bed but found nothing. They assured Tommy that it was all in his imagination, but the voice continued to torment him night after night, each time growing darker and more ominous. Desperate for answers, Tommy turned to his grandmother, hoping she might understand. She had always been the one to tell him stories and lend a listening ear, but when he shared his ordeal with her, her eyes widened with an unsettling realization. She whispered, "I've heard of this before, Tommy. It's an ancient tale, a malevolent spirit seeking to claim a soul." Tommy's heart sank. He had hoped for comfort, not this chilling revelation. The voice from under the bed had grown stronger, now foretelling the moment it would come for him, and no one believed him except his grandmother. As the nights passed, the voice grew louder, more sinister, and more certain. Tommy's family remained unconvinced, convinced it was just a child's vivid imagination. But deep down, Tommy knew the truth. He was not safe, and the voice from under the bed was real. The clock was ticking, counting down to the nightmarish encounter that awaited him. Tommy's grandmother, who believed in the ancient tale of malevolent spirits, tried everything she knew to protect her grandson. She searched through old books, recited protective chants, and even placed a line of salt around his bed. But the voice under the bed was relentless and continued to torment the young boy. As the days turned into weeks, Tommy's health deteriorated. Dark circles formed under his eyes, and he became a mere shadow of his former cheerful self. The voice under the bed grew louder and more insistent with each passing night. "Tommy," it hissed, sending chills down his spine, "I'm coming for you tonight." Tommy's grandmother, realizing that her efforts were in vain, decided to seek the help of a local priest. She shared the horrifying tale of the voice under the bed, and the priest agreed to perform an exorcism in Tommy's room. The entire family gathered, their faces etched with fear, as the priest began the ritual. But just as the priest started, the room darkened and an unearthly chill filled the air. The voice from under the bed boomed with a sinister power that sent the priest stumbling backward. "Tommy," it thundered, its voice echoing through the room, "I am here." Tommy screamed as an invisible force seemed to drag him off his bed and onto the floor. His family rushed to his side, trying to pull him back, but they were powerless against the malevolent entity. As Tommy's body contorted and writhed in agony, the priest continued his desperate prayers, but it was too late. With one final bone-chilling scream, Tommy's voice was silenced forever, and he vanished from their sight, leaving nothing but an empty, foreboding room. The room was never the same again. The darkness seemed to linger, and an unsettling presence remained, serving as a haunting reminder of what had transpired. The family was shattered, grieving for the loss of their beloved son. His parents and grandmother blamed themselves for not believing him, for not acting sooner. The voice under the bed, having claimed its innocent victim, returned to its silent torment, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to cross its path. Tommy's family was left with a void that could never be filled, forever haunted by the dreadful truth they had ignored. The world outside moved on, oblivious to the tragedy that had unfolded in that quiet suburban home. The voice from under the bed would continue its sinister cycle, leaving shattered lives and unspeakable horror in its wake, all while the world remained in blissful ignorance of the malevolent entity that lurked beneath the surface, waiting for the next innocent soul to torment.